all, you work with a lot of business owners.
Correct.
And they're out
Yes.
trying to find a commercial property. And a lot of business owners, I think in my experience, there's two kinds. One that thinks they know more than everybody else, and that's the way they want to operate.
Yes.
And two is going to be the people who find people who know more than them and try to surround themselves and then, let people kind of run their own, do what they do best.
Yeah, those who can delegate, those who cannot.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, to put it in simpler terms. Now, when you're working with somebody who's trying to find commercial space, of course, I've talked with you about it at length. I mean, more than anybody, I think, in the world about buying or leasing commercial space. You just do. You've been doing it for a long time. You did it for huge multinational corporations, and you've done it for the little guy.
Correct.
But when you start to, I suppose, compare what you know about that and what your average business owner knows about that, and then you realize that, some people will want to work with you and some people want to try to, DIY, do it themselves.
Yes.
What are your thoughts around that? Because some people just want to do it and some people want to delegate it.
It's a personality trait that it's specific to everybody, and everyone's got their own pathology and how they do business, how they built their business, their career. But when you're really diving into it, it's like some people just want to control the entire process all the way through, and that works when you have a small company of 1 to 4 or 5 people. That's why some companies don't get past that tipping point, which is they can't release or can't delegate major responsibilities. So when I represent both landlords and tenants, and I've been doing the landlord side the last couple of years here, and it's good because I only represent good landlords. I don't represent horses' asses, so I just won't do that. So if the landlord has integrity and is honest and does fair business, I'll deal with them as their representative. But I kind of digressed there a little bit.
That's
Sorry.
okay. You obviously had an itch to scratch.
Yeah, well, that's my pathology, But when I see tenants approach on the landlord side, and they don't have representation, one of my first questions is, do you have a broker? And they'll say, oh, no. And I'll say, you should get one. For lack of a better word, it's not that anyone's, I or my landlord's going to take advantage of somebody, but you only get what you ask for. And when you ask for something, you have to ask for it properly. You can't just say, I want this, I want that. So today we're going to talk just briefly about if you're a small business owner and you want to go out on your own and you want to find your own commercial real estate to lease for your business, I do not advise it because it doesn't cost the business owner a nickel. All it's going to do is cost them money, hard money or soft money through the agreement. But if they want to go do it themselves, there's a few simple rules and processes that they should do, and just know that you're not going to be in a better position at the end of that road, but you've done it yourself, and if you want to maintain total control of your business and the outcome, and you want to have that ownership, there's a few things that you'd want to do.
What are some of the big ones?
First off, the first one is don't ever do it by yourself. So that's the first rule. Get a broker. But the second rule would be do your research. First, you got to know what your company needs, what you're willing to pay, what your size is, and what you think the company will do in the next 3 to 5 years. If you have that mentality of having a control over everything and doing your own real estate and doing your own everything, your company's not going to grow in 3 to 5 years. So that kind of answers your question. You're going to be right there where you are today. But that's business advice, not real estate advice. Second one is do your research. Find out what other properties in the area, the target demographic area that you're looking at, the traffic flows, patterns, size, use, what's going on in the area. Third, and this is really most important, one of the most important, is don't be emotional. This is a business transaction. You're not you're not having to deal with a spouse who says, oh, I want a yard. It's not like residential. Residential is very emotional. Commercial, it's business. It's a start and an end to it. It's contractual, and we're talking about economics only. The other one is, like, say, do your legwork, do your research, do your legwork. Go tour the neighborhoods, walk the neighborhoods, drive them, take a note of what other buildings are in the market. Do your research. And when you do your research, there's a few key tools out there that tenants can use to kind of get an idea. And if you're out there listening, you can get a pen and paper and start to write some of these down. So I'll stall for like 5 seconds while they do that. But there's one.
5 seconds is a long time.
Is it? All right. Okay.
That's called dead air.
It took Jim 10 minutes to find a pen earlier, and he was here. Anyway, the first one you want to take a look at is OfficeSpace.com, and that's going to give you both industrial, retail, and office. That's a pretty sound one. It's here locally.
And you don't even have to write that down. I mean, if you're looking for office space, just add a .com and you're good to go.
That bought me another 10 seconds.
You got it.
There's a somewhat new one out there. It's called CityFeet, CityFeet.com. That's a good one. There's a standard LoopNet, and of course, there's the old standby Craigslist. Of those groups, those are not what you'd consider an MLS or a multiple listing service. They're basically not a bait and switch, but they're more of a recruiting tool for brokers to get novice people to call them and look at their property so that they can snare them or bring them in. The one I highly recommend, the one that is an MLS for commercial, and it's called CBA, C-B-A, Commercial Brokers Association.com. And that one, they police it, they monitor it. Everything has to be truthful in there. There's no dead weight. There's no dead weight, meaning properties that already been leased that they still leave up there. That's probably going to be a business owner's best tool and most accurate. But you're going to deal with brokers who do that. So,
and now if you're doing this yourself, you're now dealing with a broker who knows what they're doing.
Yes.
On the other end, and is negotiating against you on terms you may not even understand.
Exactly. And if you're a business owner and you see somebody come in, let's say you're a cabinet maker, and somebody comes in and says, "Oh, I want you to make cabinets for me," and you're going to look at them and you're going to say, "Well, what kind?" "Well, it's all in the kitchen." In the first 10 seconds, you as a cabinet maker knows that this person that walked into your store, they don't know boo. Mm-hmm. And it's up to you whether you want to take advantage of them or not. So it's the same thing in real estate. If actually a broker who is even a residential broker with 1 or 2 years experience is far better than a business owner going in and doing a commercial lease with no representation. Mm-hmm. It's any knowledge is better. And it's not that the business owners, it's not their fault, but they don't do this but once every 3, 5, or 10 years. You can't be good at something doing it once every 5 years.
Well, and we have about a minute left, but let's even get into the intricacies of this, Matt. You once told me about a few months ago that you can even negotiate the cost of the paper, the toilet paper, the hand towels.
Are you going back to that?
I'm saying, I mean, all these different things. Like if you're sitting there and you're going to be leasing a building, you've never done this.
Yes.
You're probably not thinking, my goodness, we're going to have to think about what we serve for lunch because we only have X amount of toilet paper that's available.
That was a little different. Not quite. That was just that was way a sidetrack a long time ago. That was a fork in the road that we took that we shouldn't have. But anyway, okay, so wrapping this up a little bit, when you get done with all your legwork and you're touring the properties, never just look at one, look at several. Add up the gross lease value, and we've talked about that before, which is all of the rent you're going to pay over the full term minus the concessions that the landlord gives you, and then compare your properties side by side, and then that's how you can negotiate. So I'm just saying it's complex. It's like a game of chess. You can't put a chessboard in front of somebody and say, move the pieces.
They'll start playing checkers.
They will.